Hi, I'm Suki.
And I'm Claire.
Welcome to Getting Psychic, where you can listen to us use ourselves to test the theory that anyone can get psychic. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. I had some cuckoo pants dreams.
Oh, please share.
I'm not even sure. You know, my dreams often don't have me in them. It's like I'm watching.
Yeah.
And our teacher basically said like that while I'm dreaming, I'm going into other realms. I'm projecting into other spaces and leaving my body, which makes sense. This didn't feel like that though, even though it was really intense. I can't wrap my head around last night's dreams, but I woke up very like, actually physically, which was uncomfortable. But
yeah, you sent me the picture of your hand. It was completely paralyzed.
Yeah, in a fist. And it took like 20, 30 minutes to unwind it. It's annoying when that
crazy.
happens.
Does that always happen when you have crazy nights?
No, but if I'm incredibly active in a dream, like if I'm running around a lot, and in my dreams I am not in a wheelchair, I am two-legged. And
they're working for you?
They're working for me. But when I'm super active, when I wake up in the morning, it's like I was just working the fuck out because my muscles are all like, so.
Yeah. Does Eric say anything? Are you like going thrashing around, or is it just all in your head?
That guy can sleep through anything. So no.
Not the best person to ask. Yeah, I was actually shocked last night because I was also having cuckoo dreams because I tried to, like, right before bed. First of all, I have just insane activity in my stomach and intestines as the gift from Costa Rica that won't stop giving. So I like took a bath and I was kind of just doing some meditating, and our teacher kind of walked me through finally like meeting a guide yesterday. So I was like, oh, that was lovely. I want more. And I got some weird stuff, and I went to bed, and I was like, set the intention that I would just kind of finish that conversation in my sleep. And
what happened?
Well, I was just like back and forth to the toilet all night, but it kept me in this kind of in-between state where I was repeatedly accessing these three energies, and they were like female and angelic and amazing. And I kept thinking like, oh, I should really be writing this down. I should be really recording what I'm getting. But no, I didn't. I was too tired. So whatever, maybe next time. Mm-hmm. But before that happened, you gave me some really good advice. And it was...
Paper pen?
No. It was, if you are accessing your guide, you're not necessarily going to get the answers to the questions you're asking in words.
Right.
And then I think my response to you was like, see, this is fucking typical psychic bullshit. Nobody tells me this. I've been talking to you for months, and you just casually drop that on me, and it reframes my whole perspective. I'm like, you people take so much for granted. You're just in there.
Well, I think it's not that I hadn't thought about it in that way. Like, I don't talk about this with anyone, so except you know. So it's one of
me
those
and the
things.
Rest of the world now.
Well, you and all other 4 people.
Our expansive
listenership. So I hadn't really thought about it until you were like, well, he wasn't saying anything. And then I think you were like, am I making it up? And I'm like, oh, right. They don't actually speak, like their mouths don't necessarily move, and they don't necessarily, I mean, sometimes I guess they do, but I mean, they have, but generally it's more of like, if you're seeing it out here, the message is like back here. I think it's actually back here. It seems to come from the left side. But
see, I mean, here's the thing that I think that I kind of want to share is that I think that this is probably different for everyone.
For sure.
But once you opened that up for me and said, like, don't try to be hearing words, I started basically seeing images. And I was like, oh, everyone, you freaking psychics will always tell everyone, like, everyone has psychic ability. They just have to tap into it. And I'm getting the impression based on like meeting all of these new people and openly talking about this in safe circles that like, it's just different for everyone. And it's almost like every person that has access to different dimensions has a different language. Like some people will see a series of images and they get used to figuring out what they mean over time. And so I really was stuck with like, after that meditation last night, I was really hyper aware of the fact that like, okay, yeah, this is opening something up for me that I haven't experienced before. And like, now I just need to almost like, it's just practice.
Yeah. I think that the question of, is that real? Is that real? Is that real? Is what always will bumble us up. It's the automatic questioning because why wouldn't you? You're like, obviously I'm making that up.
Yeah.
An octopus didn't just communicate with me. It's like,
yeah.
But that's the only thing that hinders us from hearing is our minds being like, is that real?
Yeah.
And so it wants it concrete. And the more you're just like, it is, just whatever it is, like, I'm just going to let it play. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not, just play out. And the more...
Yeah, that's how I also feel like our teacher is definitely like, if it comes, it's real, just accept it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is probably the first step in really opening up your abilities and #getting psychic.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay. Like yesterday, for example, she walked me through this meditation to meet my guide. And I'm going to draw this out of you too, as like, I want you to teach people like, it's kindergarten, psychic kindergarten. But like she walked me through this meditation and I opened a door and I was like laughing the whole time. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Am I really meeting a monkey right now? And I was. I mean, it was just like, I had all the stuff like, you're making this up. This is your thought. But it had this quality to it that was completely out of context of linear thought. Like it was just there and I was almost resisting it and it was still existing. And it was this beautiful, happy, funny, joyful, playful energy. And it just like embracing me. Mm. So last night when I was like, I'm going to go back and hang out with that monkey, then somebody else showed up. And I was like, what the hell is this? And that's when I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, I'm making this up. I'm going to bed. But I think one of the building blocks to explaining that, like, we all have guides or that we believe we all have guides and that we can meet them is about accepting that everything is energy. And we also, I believe that there are many different dimensions that we have access to.
So which part do you want me to explain?
Start from whatever you think is the beginning, boss.
So the everything is energy. I mean, I guess everything is energy and thus everything is mutable. Like everything can shift and everything gets to transform. And since our thoughts can shift energy and move energy, and people are like, so move the chair. Not talking about such a big thing, but it means that we can transcend our energy into another place, I guess is the best way. Like when I go into, I don't know what I call it. Like I call it the Akasha, but if I go to meet guides, I don't know how Patty did it. Did she have you ascend like a staircase or something? Or our teacher?
Just kind of like start in my heart chakra, move up to my throat, then third eye, then crown. And I just kind of like went up energetically and opened a door.
Yeah.
And I was right there with her. Like, and I opened the door and someone came out and that was it. But when I first made the realization that, like, wait a minute, I talk to a medium occasionally and I fully believe that they're accessing my guides and ancestors, then I also believe that there are energies and presences in other dimensions and I should also be able to access them. So I just got on Google and I said, how do you meet your guide?
Mm.
And it was basically like explained a meditation. So if I was going to ask you to tell everyone a meditation to meet your guide, what would you say?
I would start with grounding. And grounding is connecting one of your energy centers, chakra, to the center of the earth. All you have to do is picture it, and it's real. I would start with that. I tend to tell people to ground from their first chakra. I have begun grounding from the heart chakra.
For beginners, where is your first chakra? Where should we have envisioned?
So at the base of your spine, there is a triangular bone called the sacrum. And I would put it basically right there. I would imagine in my, basically like directly where your uterus or what's in a man?
What's in a man?
Like what's there? Maybe, I don't know, just
intestines?
Lower than your bladder. Maybe a prostate is there. Oh, prostate's there. Lower than your bladder. Like basically the seat of your pelvic floor. I would imagine this orb of energy. And from that, I would let yourself feel it for a minute and really envision it and see it. And whatever it looks like is perfect. And from there, I would imagine a cord going down into the center of the earth and allow yourself to feel it connect. And it'll just feel like a... And if you don't feel it, that's okay. You're connected, I promise. So that would be first thing.
You can just kind of know it. If you're not a visual person, you can just know it and
just know you are. Right. And right, you have told your energy you are grounded, and thus you are. And so from there, it's like I would spend a minute just sort of shaking doubt off and just move into a space of like, I'm doing a thing, of like openness. And I like that she starts in the heart chakra. I tend to just go up, but I think if I was...
What do you mean when you say go up?
I mean, I've been doing it so much, I just leave. I don't...
Right. You just take your energy out of your body.
Right. I just...
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing is we're taking our energy and we're extending it out of ourselves, which is why we're grounding. And we're extending out of ourselves into the realm where our guides live. And like in meditation language, it puts you into theta, I believe, theta wave. So like the way that I do it is I kind of think of it's an elevator and I'm moving up into the sky and then past the clouds and into a space that can't be seen but can be felt. And when I get there, it feels like pressure on the top of my, like up here. I feel pressure and like almost behind my eyes and in my head. And like a part of me is literally trying to elevate. So I guess I would try and lead somebody through that just really slowly. Because, it's one of those things. I mean, if you can do it fast, do it fast. But
yeah, cool.
That's
Practice
how
makes
I would
perfect. Do it. But I've been trying to do it for months, and kind of there are points where I kind of like see myself kind of below me in a really easy, comfortable spot for me has been like I ground around the earth, and then I'm kind of floating in space with an umbilical cord to earth, and I mirror myself and I just hang out loving the other me. But until yesterday, I wasn't able to go and like open a door and meet somebody. And trust me, when you do it, it will be very likely that you doubt yourself and you say, why did I make that up? Why did I make up that name? Because another thing you can do is ask them for their name. But, I think part of the practice is just acceptance. Maybe you did make it up, but I think it's very unlikely. And if you keep practicing, it will become refined. Do you agree with that?
I do. With the name, asking the name, like, I don't think I told you, my octopus has a name. Did I tell you?
Do tell.
So I have a new spirit guide that showed up at the last full moon meditation. And he is kind of like an octopus that grounded me out of my heart and then used all his other tentacles to start like doing crazy healing work on me, which was dope. Anyway, he's been around and he's just now a part of me. He's just with me and it's great. And I was like, what is your name? What is your name? What is your name? And he just wouldn't say anything. So I couldn't like hear anything as in like a knowing. And when I say hear anything, I never expected him to be like, I am Bob. How are you? But I expected to hear a name like from behind me. And I just never did. And he just seemed to like not give a shit. So then eventually, so I was just calling the octopus guy, my octopus guy. And then I did a meditation and I called him and I was like, look, I would like to call you something other than the octopus guy. So I was like, is that okay? And then I was aware that I had to just keep bringing up names. So then a couple of names came in and I was like, this, and I just knew it was wrong. And then I was like, oh, Octavius. And he was like, great. That's perfect. So now he's Octavius.
Cute. Love it. Oh, that's why you were talking about Octavius.
Yeah.
Okay, why is accessing a guide a good thing or positive or helpful in anyone's life? Once you embrace the idea that we have them, what do they do for us?
They can help us lead ourselves. They can help answer.
They give us guidance.
They can give us guidance. They're guides. Yeah. They're like, this way's better. I mean, it's the same thing as like your instinct, except when you connect to one in particular or multiple, they each also can serve different purposes. And that's something that you can also ask them, like, is there a part of my life specifically that you are here to help me with? I mean, I know that Octavius is here to help me with my body. And that's it. He's not going to talk to me about emotional shit. I mean, like, in the sense of like, what do you think I should do about, my partner or whatever? He's like, I'm here to help clear your body of garbage. So that's another thing. But I just think there is something about knowing that you have something bigger than yourself that you're connected into. This is why people go to church, because they want to feel connected to God.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I have to say that this path that I really dove into like just 4 months ago, and now I'm like, I met some guides and, I just tripped balls in the jungle, has been so eye-opening in so many ways, but beautiful in one where I have accepted religion and I've accepted the concept of God and I understand.
I mean, God is a difficult word for many, many people we know to swallow.
Yeah. And rightfully so, because, human beings have agency, and a lot of them, based on many factors, do some crazy things with religion and God and use
the name of God as their reasoning.
Yeah. I mean, they use it to hate and discriminate, right? And some people don't.
Right.
They use it to love. I realize like prayer, just like meditation, is actually healing. Like even if you're praying and you're praying to Jesus Christ, like that dude was a real sweet healer. That energy will help people.
Right. Right.
Just like
it's energy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just
That's
like
all prayer is.
Yeah. And it's just like if I meditate and send love to someone that hurt me, or some love and healing to someone that needs it, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, it is.
So that's cool. That was like a big shift for me. And I think many people like, ew, God, what?
I know. It's always been tricky. We have a lot of the same humans, or, we're around a lot of the same humans are. And it's a real, like, hands in the dirt. This is it, like, fuck religion, fuck anything, patriarchy, anti-establishment. I'm doing my thing, and all of those crazy words, probably because there were some crazy parents with some crazy religious shit happening. And it's like, it's been so fascinating the past like 20 years, moving through figuring out all of this energy and connecting into spirit and having it be such a big part of my existence, and knowing things like, oh, Jesus was a dope healer and enlightened being. And he said the exact same thing that Buddha said, who is an enlightened being, said the exact same thing that Muhammad, said, that was an enlightened being. It's all the same thing. It's all about love. And it's man that has taken it and fucked it up into something cruel. But it's so weird that, like, so talking about it around people that are like, God is a bad word. It's like, it's just a word. It's just a word for big energy.
How, I don't even know if you're going to have the answer to this, but you've been on this road a lot longer than me. But like, it's not a really chill, casual thing, even to someone that can swallow the idea that like, okay, cool, we all have guides on the other side, and Earth is like a school.
I love that concept.
And everyone
Let's talk about that really quickly.
Okay.
Because this is something, it's like everyone's like, what's my purpose? Like when I do Akashic readings for people, everyone wants to know what their purpose is and if they're on their path. First of all, your purpose is to be the very best version of yourself that you can be, and to constantly work towards that, whatever that looks like. And yes, you're absolutely on the right path, no matter what. Like, even if it feels like garbage, totally you're on the path because you're in the middle of doing it. I don't know. It's one of those things of like, I kind of move through life a little bit, and I know it's maybe weird, but I kind of am just watching it happen. I mean, I make choices, I make decisions, but I think of it like a movie for the gods, or, like, this is a blink of an eye. It's all fine. Even if it's fucking brutal and terrible, it's okay, because I feel like we made a choice to come here knowing how hard it was going to be, because it's like, it's so fast. Our lives in the grand scheme of things are nothing. They're so fast. And we can then come back again and again and again, whatever. So I kind of think of it as this roller coaster ride. Sometimes I'm going to laugh really, really hard and scream in joy. And then sometimes I'm going to puke and really hate it. And both are totally perfect and fine, because it doesn't matter. It's going to be over in a second anyway. And I'll probably do it again, but different. So that to me is like, just live. Just be present to every moment and be like, well, that's happening right now. Okay. how do we deal with this? And then you move forward. While there are moments that are like profoundly brutal and we want to yell why, the answer doesn't usually often matter because you just have to keep moving because it's just happening anyway. It's all happening. I don't know. I think we get really focused in the like, what am I doing? And it's like, open it up, be present, do your best, help other people do their best. And that feels like connecting into me.
Yeah. Helping people is, I think, super important here. What I was going to say was, okay, accepting the fact that we have guides for someone, like, that could be a huge leap, right? And then taking it one step further and being like, oh, what the fuck? Why is my guide a monkey? Like, that is like next level. Like, that's hard to swallow, right? How do you explain that?
I don't know.
It's almost like saying, like, how do you explain that? Oh, yeah, P.S. I also accept that there are like many dimensions and some people have access to like all of these beings.
It's funny. I feel like when they show up, when animals show up in things, that there's energy with each animal, that's super specific. And so I always want to look into that energy. Like, it makes sense to me that an octopus showed up to me, because it's incredibly strong and also very malleable. And its nervous system is off the charts bonkers. Mm-hmm. So it could help me with mine. But like, it probably could have been a rooster. It just wouldn't have been as fun. But I was wondering I have this little book that I actually just got about the pocket guide to spirit animals and understanding messages from your animal spirit guides. So let's see what monkey is. So first, here's what monkey says. First, accept things as they are. And once you do, you'll be able to generate creative solutions for any problems you're having and put them into action. Be willing to adjust your course quickly and as necessary when fresh information, whether intuitive or logical, comes your way. Be open to new perspectives and approaches rather than getting bogged down in rigid thinking or acting.
What the monkey was doing for me was just bringing me this big, fat, warm feeling of love and happiness and goofiness, almost representative of this big part of me.
That's awesome.
And it was just like accepting and loving and hugging me. It was very lovely and completely bizarre.
I mean, it's kind of amazing. Just the whole idea that like it was letting you know that it's filled with love and to accept it. And then the next time you went to go say hi, there was a different being of like, accept it.
Yeah. Like a completely different vibe, a weird little hermit. I was like, I gotta go to bed. What the hell?
What was he doing?
He was just kind of like hunched over. He could have been a monk, but I just kept getting hermit and like not making eye contact with me, really hunched over and just kind of being there with not negative energy, but kind of way more intense. And I was like, oh, I gotta go to bed.
This was not what I was looking for.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need 2 in one day. Get me out of here. But I have to say, like, I am really curious if people do this for the first time today. I want to know what people are getting. And I also encourage you to just accept it. That's the hard part. But they bring palpable energy. And it is crazy.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about tripping balls in the jungle?
I wish I was there with you, ma'am.
Okay, just put your jealousy aside, Claire.
It's envy.
Just be here with me and support me.
I do.
Hold space for me.
I am.
Just kidding.
Here's my container.
I met a lot of really beautiful, gifted women. And there was a point like 20 hours in where I was thinking, is it possible to love every human being? Because I did that human thing where I walked up on like all of these 21 people standing in front of a bus. And I was like, well, I'm going to love that person. I probably won't get along with that person. Right? I did all this quick math without even processing. And then one by one, I connected with every single vastly different, beautiful woman that was there. And I loved all of them. And they were all normal. I expected to go there and meet a bunch of nut jobs. And that's funny coming from me, given the subject matter of this podcast. But they're probably all listening because they're supportive, amazing women that are all of them super gifted in their own right, like blowing my mind. And it was like really beautiful. I learned that doing ayahuasca is a sacred medicine, and I'm probably not going to go deep into my experience, but I kept thinking, if I have this platform and I want to share anything with anyone that's curious, it's that do your research, know who's holding the container and who's like hosting. Like the people that administered our medicine and led our ceremony were, deeply entwined in this medicine as a practice of their religion and their lifestyle, and are the ancestors of people from the Santo Daime religion. It was founded in the 1930s in the Brazilian Amazon, and this religion incorporates elements of several religious or spiritual traditions, including folk Catholicism, African animism, indigenous South American shamanism. And one of the people that was there was this beautiful energy of a woman that was born in the Amazon. I think she was born in the rainforest, I think. And she was a direct descendant of the lineage of this religion that practices plant medicine and also administers like toad venom called combo. And it just really led me to understand that, like, I don't know, my opinion is, having had this experience, maybe don't just go to like a plush place where some dude that's done ayahuasca 10 times is giving you the medicine, because maybe he doesn't know how to hold space for what you're about to go through.
Word.
That's not meant to be gendered. It was just, I'm throwing it out there. So that was one big takeaway. And the other thing I'm going to say is there was a part during the main ceremony where I thought that I was in hell. I couldn't believe that I chose to do this. And I thought everyone was crazy, and I deeply regretted it. And over time, what unfolded was incredible, and actually it changed my life. So this isn't exactly an endorsement. Like, don't do this on a whim, and don't do it if you're simply curious. Do it if you're being called to and you have done research about who's administering it and where you're going. But I shed some like crazy embedded emotional things that I barely even knew were there. So
It's real good for that.
It was wild.
And you never know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was always told, even by you, like, you're going to get what you need. And I was a little bit shocked because what I got was very much of this dimension and very much just...
Well, that makes sense.
Felt, when you talked about it, you were like, I'm at the energy of ayahuasca, which is a common thing to experience. Like, you actually meet the entity, right? I was like, I'm not meeting anyone. I'm just making myself walk through every single thing I know about my own father's fucked up life. And I was like, why am I making myself do this? And, with a larger scope and perspective, I realized it wasn't just me casually walking myself through this while I was like tripping out. There were larger forces at hand, but it was my own voice just being like, okay, let's look at this again. Let's look at this again. And it was nothing that I had never seen or knew about. It was just revisiting everything I ever heard about my dad's childhood, which was a horror show. But the interesting thing about that was not just that the simple sort of observation would have been like, well, yeah, duh, your dad had a hard life. He was severely abused and experienced hell on earth. You should forgive him for being a walled off, terrible father. But it wasn't even remotely that simple. It was not only are you seeing him as a baby and holding him as a baby and forgiving him, but you're being told your soul has a job to help his soul. And like zooming out a little bit more and getting the perspective of one of the people that was there to help, where she was like, so almost read my mind, because my initial instinct leaving it after I was just disgruntled and angry for a few hours, it was like, I gotta go. I gotta fly there and I gotta tell my dad everything I know and I gotta help him. And she was like, now you went through the divine masculine, and that is like fucking a really hard thing to sort through. So I don't envy like what you just experienced, but I've been there. And P.S. don't fly to your dad's house and try to help him. And I was like, oh, that's weird. You're reading my mind. She's like, don't do that. You don't have to do that work. Meditate and send him love. She's like, you doing this work already lifted weight from your whole entire family. You being courageous enough to do this lightened the load of the souls of your whole family. And I was like, damn. And I never threw up. I never did anything that everyone always talks about. But the big purging for me was almost just like the next day, like crying in front of strangers a couple of times. Like I felt it releasing and I felt myself healing. It was crazy. So that's the long and the short of it. But also a hilarious part was that I was like, damn, I just got to friggin' sit here and look at this life. What a bummer. And then I didn't realize the fact that the whole point of that ceremony was like that they were basically opening up a portal to African spirits. And at the end of the ceremony, I was sitting there with my eyes open, being really crabby and dizzy. And I watched this whole family of African descent walk past me. And the man smiled at me and waved. And it was such deep kindness and generosity. And I just stared at him with my mouth kind of open because I was like, why am I thinking of this? Completely out of context. I was just thinking about my dad for 6 hours, and now this family is walking by me and waving at me, and they're all wearing this like cream colored clothing. I was like, why am I thinking about this? And then later I learned what the ceremony was about because I apparently wasn't paying attention in class. And we opened a portal to these souls. I mean, can you imagine better validation? I was like, oh, that was real. Like I got to see, I'm here to get psychic. And I got to see that. Like I got to see another dimension. Hell yes. But it's funny because
you saw fairies too.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that.
Okay. I saw fairies on my first also.
Too weird.
Okay. The monkey guide is fine, but fairies is.
We all have our limits. Okay. But yeah, mind blown. I'll never forget him. It was like almost like he knew that I had just been through the ringer, and he just blasted me with love. And it was beautiful. But then I was like, oh shit, am I going to be able to see ghosts now? No thanks. The end.
The end. Yeah. I think that earthly shit has to be cleared out. And then maybe this is one of the reasons where I'm like, I want to do more ceremonies, because in my last ceremonies, I dealt with so much gnarly earthly shit that I'm like, okay, do I get to get into some cosmic shit in the next one? Yeah. Or maybe there's more earthly shit. I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I am on Earth. I am human.
Yeah. You can't say. Don't expect anything. Hot
no,
tip.
Exactly. Hot tip. Don't expect anything. Except,
and let me clarify too. You were like, oh, ayahuasca is cool because, you open your eyes and you're not tripping.
Oh, yeah,
and
this is wild. Yeah, you're going to disagree with me.
I'm going to go ahead and classify that as false.
Okay, so here's a thing that I know because I've been told it, that there's 2 types of vines. I was told that there's 2, probably there's more, but that one is a white vine and one is a black vine. I know that the medicine I took was from the black vine. I know that the medicine that my partner took when he did it was from the white vine because the ayahuasquero or the shaman person told me that. But I don't know. It's also, they have 2 churches in the US. One is in Santa Fe.
Oh, really?
It's where my teacher of Source Point Therapy is a part of it. And it is where Source Point was born from.
Yeah, it's crazy because they play channeled music the entire ceremony. So it's kind of like a wild event. And it was clear that they preferred that we sit up and hold space during our ceremony, which I also didn't expect. I kind of thought, based on what you told me, that we would all just lay down and close our eyes and fly away. But it was very, very different. So
yeah, that's fascinating.
If anyone is considering it, definitely either don't expect anything or ask a lot of questions.
Totally. You're the only person that I've talked to about ceremonies where they were told to keep their eyes open.
We weren't necessarily told to keep our eyes open, but it was encouraged for us to sit up and join in, be present for the ceremony. Yeah, it was super interesting. And I was like, I can't. My arms are jello and I'm trying not to pass out. So see you later.
Bye.
It was hard.
Did you have your eye mask with you?
I did, but I felt like it seemed inappropriate. So I didn't use it. And it didn't matter because it was wild. That's that in a nutshell. What are you going to do for your wedding hair?
What do you want me to do for my wedding hair? How about that?
I don't know. I think just kind of a version of how you keep it, but, more refined.
Yeah, I think that I need it choppier. I think that it needs more layers, but I want the length.
Yeah, I like the length on you. It looks good. Yeah, well, we should do a consultation.
Great.
Cool. Well, we're just 2 girls trying to get psychic. I think it's working.
I definitely think it's working for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're already I already know everything.
Oh my God. No. No matter how far you are, that's is probably not true, but I only know the tiny amount that I know. And this is one of those things, I want the more. I want to be able to help people even deeper than I do.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we still have to do the energy healing lesson. And I still have to, are we going to actually do Operation Heal Claire?
Sure.
I mean, we got to do it. Do I have to be the boss of this? Because you're going to just try to do the dishes.
Yeah, you be the boss. I love when you're the boss.
Oh my God. We can't even keep on a podcast schedule. So how are we gonna
What are you talking about? We're here.
Get rid of MS.
Wednesday morning. Look, my hand. I needed a minute. I know. Well, once you heal me, I'll be able to
I was literally dying of diarrhea last night and I made it.
Whatever. Your friend came over. So here we are getting psychic super positive.
I know we're helping tons of people right now. Mm-hmm. I actually think we are. So good job. The moral of the story in closing today is don't do ayahuasca and
unless you
go meet your guide.
Don't do ayahuasca. That's not the moral of the story.
Well, I would rather part ways with people and say that than
don't do ayahuasca casually. Don't do any plant medicine casually or animal medicine. Don't do anything sacred casually. It's fucking
that's
sacred.
Kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And you know what? Reintegration is hard and you don't have to tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
Just because Will Smith went and did ayahuasca 12 times.
He did?
Doesn't mean you have to. Yeah, I didn't read about it, but apparently he spoke very eloquently about it. One of my new buddies from Australia was saying that she read about it. But whatever, all of this stuff, people are having spiritual awakening. So like all of this stuff is coming to the surface. So just be careful.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was after he hit Chris Rock that he did ayahuasca, or was it before?
Yeah, good question. Because one would think if he did it like 12 times, he probably wouldn't be going up and punching people.
I would hope. But
who knows?
There you go. Well, take care, everyone.
Whatever floats your scrote. I say that to Robert all the time. He really doesn't like it.
No, I bet. I like it.
All right. I hope this podcast was super informational and useful.
Or at least entertaining.
At the very least. Okay. Have a great day.
Love
Heading
you,
to work.
Mm-hmm.
Love you too. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's weird conversation as much as we did. Be sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you liked today's episode, please consider leaving us a review to help others discover our podcast and join our club.